What's the most ridiculous office rule you've seen backfire? Back in 1990, I was finishing college, studying computer science. I was supposed to be heading into my senior year, but I burned out. Between personal issues and the pressure of classes, I decided to step away. Luckily, it was a time when demand for computer professionals was sky high. If you could fix a machine and understood the basics, you were valuable. Plenty of companies didn't even care if you had a degree. It didn't take me long to find a job at a factory that made hydraulic equipment. They had around 50 office workers, engineers, accounting, HR, plant management, and dock clerks. Most of the computers in the building sat in those offices. And here's where the story takes a strange turn. There was no IT department. None. I was the IT department. Just me. You'd think they'd at least set me up with a workstation, right? Nope. I had an office with a desk, a phone, and a door I could close, but no computer. At that company, computers were a status symbol. Managers had them on their desks whether they used them or not. Corporate kept encouraging managers to pass them down to the staff who actually did the work, but no one wanted to lose their symbol of importance. So the people who really needed the machines, like me, were left improvising. My job was to keep all those machines alive. Hard drives, floppy drives, monitors, power supplies, keyboards, you name it. I fixed it. Whenever I needed parts, I'd grab a copy of Computer Shopper. If you're old enough to remember, that thing was legendary. A giant monthly catalog the size of a phone book, stuffed with ads for hardware. If it existed, it was in there. One afternoon, the payroll clerk, let's call her Claudia, walked into my office. She noticed the magazine on my desk and asked if that's where I ordered all the parts. I told her it was. Then she asked if you could build an entire computer from the parts listed inside. I said sure, you could practically build 3 or 4. Then came the question that tipped me off. She was scheming. Do any of those parts cost more than $250? I knew why she asked. The company had a rule about purchase orders. Any manager could approve purchases up to $250. Anything more than that had to go all the way to the plant manager for sign-off. I told her honestly, no, none of the parts cost more than $250 individually. She smiled, asked me to make her a list of everything you'd need to build a computer and to group it so no single purchase went over that limit. I figured she and her boss were cooking something up, so I made the list for her and didn't think much more about it. The next morning, the accounting manager called me into his office. He had a thick stack of papers on his desk. He looked me in the eye and said, "We need to talk about these." I walked over, picked them up, and my stomach sank. They were all purchase orders for every single part I had listed, and every one of them had my name written down as the requester. Claudia hadn't put her name on them. She'd put mine. The boss tapped the stack. "What is all this about?" Now here's something I learned that day. Never ever throw the payroll clerk under the bus. They know every secret in the building. They can make your life miserable in ways you don't even see coming. So instead of outing her, I leaned into it. I told him, well, I thought it would be smart to keep spare parts on hand. That way, if a computer fails, I can fix it in hours instead of waiting days for a replacement order. He flipped through the stack. Motherboard, power supply, memory, hard drive, floppy drive, monitor. This looks like you're ordering an entire computer. You could build one from all this? I nodded like it had just occurred to me. That's a great point. If I build a machine, I can make sure every single part works before I use it in a repair. That way nothing sits on a shelf defective. He stared at me for what felt like forever. Then he scribbled something on the top page, handed the whole pile back to me, and said, "I won't be approving this. You can go." I left his office, wondering if I'd just sunk myself. But when I looked down at the papers, I saw what he'd written. Nice try, Claudia. He hadn't been fooled for a second. I dropped the stack back on her desk on my way to mine. We never spoke about it again. A few months later, I landed a better job at a place where management realized that if you hire an IT professional, maybe you should give them access to a computer.